Okay, now let's go on to the spiral line. It was a piece of this line that was first introduced to me by an article by Raymond Dart, the anthropologist, and that's what got me started on this whole thing. And I just take it a little farther than he does, maybe a little more daring, I don't know, maybe a little more foolhardy. We start with the spiral line out here on the side of the occiput with the same muscle that we have over here, the splenius capitis. The splenius is a bandage that wraps itself around the superficial back line, which is the erector spinae. We haven't gotten to the trapezius and the shoulder. That's even more superficial, but right now we're at this layer. The spiral line comes down here to the spinous processes of the upper thoracic vertebrae. I'm not being absolutely specific about which here. What I want you to get is the general idea rather than all the specific numbers. So if we kept going along here in the same direction, what muscle goes over here? The rhomboids go over here and carry us over to the medial border of the scapula, which you can see in the anatomy picture here, going pretty much in the same direction. And I'm going to tuck it under here, but you understand that the rhomboids are going all the way along this whole border, and the next muscle takes off all the way from this border, so that if we are able to look under the scapula here, we would see the serratus anterior muscle, which you can see pictured in the anatomy slide there, going around from the medial border of the scapula, going around and taking on to the ribs. But now, as we keep going in the same direction, okay, let's just take his hand out of his mouth here so he doesn't look so shy. And right here along the ribs, we've got the, as you can see in the anatomy slide, here comes the serratus anterior, here comes the external oblique, so we can go right along with the external oblique over to the midline of the linea alba, and right across through the linea alba onto the external oblique on the opposite side. You can see that in the slide also. And that carries us over to the anterior superior spine. This anterior superior spine is really one of the places in the body that's, if we were carrying this train analogy on, is really like a roundhouse. Look at what we've got going off from here. We've got the external oblique going up to the ribs, the internal oblique going across here, the internal oblique lower fibers go down to the pubic bone, sartorius takes off this way, tensor fasciae lata goes off that way. You really have a lot of muscles, a lot of different directions of pull coming right off from here. But right now, we're coming down along here with the internal oblique, and we don't have to stop here. We can keep right on going in the same direction. And we'll get his other hand out of the way, and stay there. And Gustav, you hold that. And we keep on going on what? The tensor fasciae lata that's coming here, which gets us onto our old friend, the iliotibial band, carried right down. Maybe there's an attachment on there to that greater trochanter, but definitely down here to the, ooh, who put that on the femur? Right down here. I did. Right down here on the tibial condyle. Of course, it's the iliotibial band, comes down here to the tibia. And if I'm down on the tibia, where do I go? Right onto the tibialis anterior. And I'd better go underneath this retinaculum here. And that carries right down on the bottom of the foot to the first metatarsal, first cuneiform joint. But hey, we've already seen this. We had another muscle that came to exactly this point, the peroneus longus muscle. It also comes into the joint right here. So they're connected through the joint capsule, and together they form a stirrup that goes right around the foot and comes up, same as the other one did, behind the lateral malleolus. Oops, better put it underneath the retinaculum. And from here, if we go right up on this spiral line, we get to the fibular head. With the fibular head, if we keep going in the same direction, we're going to be right on the biceps femoris, which carries us, up to the ischial tuberosity on the lateral hamstring, same as we are before, and we can just keep right on going on the superficial back line all the way up the body, up under here to where these erector spinae. And so what you have is a line that connects this side of the head, the left shoulder, the right hip, the right arch, right up back here to the same side of the head. Now if you look at this aspect of the line here, the rhomboids and the serratus together hold this medial border of the scapula. So you could say that the medial border of the scapula is suspended in the rhomboserratus muscle. So if the rhomboids are tight, it's going to pull the scapula up and in. If the serratus is tight, it's extra tight, it's going to pull the scapula down and out. So if you can watch scapular position and see not only that you need to work with these two muscles, but that you're working with something along the whole spiral line. So if you look at this incredible connection along here, I want to make two clinical points about this. If you watch me now, I am going to shorten what I call the right spiral line because it starts from the right side of the head and ends on the right side of the head, but remember it's involving the left shoulder. So if I tighten the upper portion of the line that goes from my head down to this hip, right, down, around, behind me, and over here, watch. Okay? That's shortening the right spiral line. The left shoulder falls off the body, the right side of the head comes down so that the head is moved off to the left of the midline, and the whole spiral shortens. I could do it on the other side. If I let go of that, I could shorten the left spiral line. Now I'm doing a classic shortening of the whole line. It might not exactly look like that, but you can see the implications of this line in spinal rotations. I'm not saying that this line causes spinal rotations, but that it will be involved in spinal rotations. You will see the line shortening to either compensate for or create these kinds of things. Okay, so to look at another clinical aspect of the spiral line, if we start from the anterior spine here or here, and we go down the body, you notice that what we get to is the inside arch, right in there, the weakest point of the foot arch. If we go down from the back of the line, we go down the hamstring, from the hamstring onto the peroneals, and that takes us also down to the weakest point of the arch. If the tibialis anterior and the front part of this line tighten up, they're going to pull the arch up. If they fall, they're going to allow the arch to fall also. If the back side of this line, the hamstring peroneal side of this line, tightens up, it's going to create the arch falling. If it has good span, it's going to allow the arch to stay up. So what we can see is not only do we have a sling around the arch that works through the lower leg, we have that sling continues right on up through the upper leg to the pelvis itself. So in pelvic angle, the tendency is for a fallen arch to go along with the anterior tilt and a high arch to go along with the posterior tilt. So as you can see from the number of ribbons that we're getting on the skeleton now, these lines interact. To keep this tape within bounds, we are putting out the lines as they exist, but it is hard to get into all the interactions of the lines. But you can see how there are some myofascial units that are redundant, that go through several lines, and that's just the way it is. If one line is pulling, it's going to create compensatory pulls in another line. For instance, if you see the spiral line pulling around like this, it's going to affect the lateral line over here. This lateral line is going to shorten. This lateral line is going to be lengthened. So you do have to watch the interactions between these various lines.
So the spiral line sweeps down from the skull to the opposite shoulder, around the ribcage and around the belly to the same hip, and down on the iliotibial band and the tibialis anterior to the underside of the foot, holding the arch in a sling, up the outside of the leg with the peroneals onto the hamstrings, and up the body on the same track as the superficial back line.